was going to film this outside because it is hot as balls in this house. I just turned the air conditioner off and it is already sweltering, but you can't hear me with the air conditioner on, and unfortunately it's now raining outside, so I can't film outside either. Hey folks, my name is Jen, and today we're gonna talk about this awful season, which is summer. It's so humid, you guys. I can't. Okay, so enough of my bitching, I guess. Yeah, it is July, and originally I was not planning on doing this particular video again. If you've seen the title, Vibes videos. I did one for each season last year just because I think I started with like the summer and I thought, oh, this might be a fun thing to do. I was out of ideas basically of stuff at the time. I was like, yeah, that might be okay to kind of do, and it ended up being kind of fun, and I just continued it through the year and people seem to really like it. I was thinking, you know, but then it just seemed like, why don't I make this just like a thing that I do in the seasons, basically? Because oftentimes my vibe for certain seasons will be like the same. You'll probably hear some repeats in here from last year, but you know, time's in flux, people evolve, you get into new things, you revisit old things, stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, this is a summer vibes video, and I will kind of give you an idea of what I've been into so far this summer, subject to change of course because it is only the middle of July, but yeah. So how I usually break these down is like by the 5 senses basically. So sound, what I've been listening to; sight, what I've been watching, things that I've been reading; taste, so like food and drink, and what I consider smell and feel kind of mixed together, which is stuff that I've been like doing or like experiencing or whatever. So yeah. So first up, let's get into, I guess, sight. So like watching and reading. We can talk about that first. First of all, things that I have been watching this summer so far. That has been a few different things. So I have like my regular what's-its, so like regular other booktubers that I watch, or stuff that I watch with my husband, which is our usual is to watch like GMM, so like anything related to like Rhett and Link. We watch like Good Mythical Morning, we watch Mythical Kitchen, we watch any other like videos connected with them a lot of the times, and then we also have a couple of cooking YouTubers that we watch. So we look at Binging with Babish and Joshua Wiseman. My husband really likes watching Adam Ragusea. I haven't seen too many of his videos, but he's very informative, so I also really like watching his stuff sometimes too. And then of course we have Abroad in Japan, which we regularly keep up with, and which is like it's this English guy, Chris Broad, and he's been living in Japan for I think about 10 years now. He actually has a book coming out soon, which I'm super excited about, and I think that's one of the books I'm gonna look for when I let myself go to like Barnes & Noble in like September, October, because I have like a couple of other books that are coming out in the fall that I'm super jazzed about, so I'll probably wait until then and see if I can get like all 3 books at the same time, hopefully. That's our usual watching things, but otherwise, as far as like actual like television shows and things, it has been a season so far of watching anime, which shouldn't sound too weird really, as I am a fan of anime and manga, and I've been to like anime conventions. I was part of an anime club in college with a bunch of my friends. Like, it's something that I'm into, but I have been having a really hard time over the past several years really either getting into an anime enough or feeling the drive enough to watch one. And I don't really know what's been going on with me, but it's just been like I haven't really been able to have the drive to really watch it a lot, other than rewatching something like Bunny Drop for the 5 millionth time again. Which, by the way, anime, so cute. Manga, maybe skip it. Anyways, what we have been watching, we watched two anime, which I think is from the spring season technically. We watched both of them to completion, and they're both kind of like slice of life, romancy ones, and the first is Skippin' Loafer. Skippin' Loafer is the absolute sweetest, most wholesome, most precious, beautiful anime I've ever seen. Like, it now has almost surpassed Ouran High School Host Club as my favorite anime of all time, and that is saying something because that has been my favorite since college. Like, Skippin' Loafer, every time me and my husband would watch the intro, and we don't watch the like opening to every anime, and it's just it made us so happy. We're both just like doing a little happy dance during it's so cute. Skippin' Loafer is about it takes place at a high school in Tokyo. There is the main character who is from a small town way off in the country in Japan, and she really wants to go into politics. So she ended up getting into this prestigious like Tokyo high school with the goal of basically trying to be top of her class to get into like Tokyo University so she can get into politics. And her dream of getting into politics is geared towards basically helping her hometown. Like, she wants to get there so she can be a representative who's a voice of this like country, basically this small town, and she wants to be able to represent them and also be able to like bring business and tourism and stuff into her town to kind of like save it and help it along, because it's just like which is an element that me and my husband really appreciated, because that is something that didn't really occur to us until we were really watching Chris Broad's videos, the Broad in Japan, where he has before brought up issues that are going on in Japan right now, where a lot of the smaller towns, all of the young people have left because there's nothing for them there. They're all moving to like Tokyo or other like cities because that's where the jobs are, that's where the people are, that's where everything is, and these towns are just kind of dying out because it's just a bunch of older people who are kind of left there. So it was really cool also to see. I mean, that's very sad, but it was just nice to see that element of something that we've been kind of learning about that is then brought into an anime. And it's not like a major part of the plot. The major part of the plot is this girl and making connections with these people at her school, and also making a huge like right now it's a friendship connection, but it could potentially be romantic with this boy at her school. And he so it's like part of the subplot is like her background of her like goals and stuff, and she's ambitious about it, but it's also just, it's nice that that's an element of this that's in there. Like I said, the other part of this is this friendship possibly going to blossom into something else, relationship between her and this boy she meets on the way to school on their first date. They're both late. And he is kind of, I think he is the loafer part of the title. He is just kind of going through the motions. He managed to get into this prestigious high school, but he's just kind of doing whatever. He's kind of a slacker. And just keep his head down and get through stuff, but he's also like really cute and very charming and very popular with everyone. And it's such a very sweet friendship that blossoms between the two of them, and the friendships between other people in their class as well. Even people who you thought were like set up to be, oh, they're kind of like an antagonist or something, you get to see every bit of them and explain like their growth and their flaws and what they're going through that brought them to this part, and like how like these friendships are like kind of helping them along. And that is honestly part of why it's so far up there on like my absolute favorites right now, because that element of things was also something that I really enjoyed in Host Club, and why that has been like top tier for me for so long is because I enjoyed the way that it showed friendships and how you meet people and people come into your life, and just by association, just being around them, they can make such a difference and help you kind of make a difference in your own life, kind of thing. And that's something that's also kind of in with this as well. Also, it's just really freaking cute and really funny as well. And I just, yeah, we absolutely adored it. I love it so much. The other anime that we finished was Loving Yamada at level 999. And this one is about this girl who is, frankly, she's kind of a hot mess. She got into this, man, I'm gonna get this wrong because I don't play these, but I think it's an MMORPG is basically what she's part of. And she kind of got into that with her ex, and she's been broken up with. She's like having a hard time with it, and she's still part of this RPG game, and she ends up basically just like getting drunk and being in a situation where one of the other players ends up taking care of her, and this weird friendship kind of blossoms between the two of them, and she definitely is like super into him, and he is definitely just super awkward. Is just a very sweet, funny, kind of ridiculous anime. I really liked the characters in that. I think my favorite part of it was not just like the relationship between the two main characters, but it was also the other characters within their guild. I really enjoyed them. There's one of them in particular who, he's ridiculous. I cannot even deal with him. But yeah, I loved all of the characters in there. I thought they were really funny, and sweet. And if you do like anime that's kind of slice of life, but also has to do with like gaming and stuff like that, you'd probably enjoy that one. Another one that I guess I can't fully recommend it, but because I haven't watched too much of it, I've only seen like 3 episodes so far. But oh, it's really good. It is called Oshinoko, and so it's intense. I'm gonna say it is an intense first and foremost. The first episode is probably like, I think, an hour and a half long. That might seem crazy to you, but there is a reason why it is that long, because that is the setup for the entire series, what that is going to be about. So you need to watch it. You need to just get through it, because it'll blow your freaking gourd. Can't really say too much about it because of how absolutely batshit that that first episode gets. But basically it starts with a doctor at a small hospital, and he ends up meeting this teenage girl who is there. She is pregnant, and he finds out, oh hey, she's here secretly because she is actually the lead idol from this like teen idol group, and she's there being pregnant, having her babies in secrecy. Something happens, and this doctor passes and actually gets reincarnated as one of her twins. And yeah, things just kind of continue from there. Um, it's a lot, but it's good. There is there's part of the plot line. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a part of the plot line there which is one of my favorite freaking tropes ever. And yeah, I'm like I said, I've watched about 3 episodes, super into it, and I'm someone who doesn't really like idol anime. Dude, this is good, and I have it on good authority from one of my friends that the shit just continues being amazing. So, yeah, which is I recently decided to get BritBox. It's a streaming service that is, it's all British TV. They obviously don't have like everything, but they have a lot of stuff. And I was looking at everything that they did have, and decided to just bite the bullet and get it, because a lot of the times I will try to watch things, that people have posted here on YouTube or whatever, and of course they're technically not supposed to be on there, so the quality is shit. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. It's only like $8 a month, pretty much, or you can spend like a bunch of money to get it for free all year long. But I just went with the $8 a month. But you can change it. This is not sponsored. I'm just saying. Apparently, you can change it at any time to be like a yearly instead of a monthly thing. So that's nice too. But yeah, they have a whole bunch of stuff. My main goal for getting this was to watch Britcoms. So I grew up watching PBS, and one of my favorite things from growing up on PBS was on Saturday they would do, like, I think it was like throughout the afternoon, basically they would have Britcoms, and it was like Waiting for God, The Vicar of Dibley, Ballykiss Angel, which is kind of more of a drama than a comedy, but that was that show. But yeah, so BritBox has like these others, and they also have my two favorite Britcoms, which are Keeping Up Appearances and Are You Being Served? So Keeping Up Appearances was a Britcom from, I believe it started in like the early 90s and ran for a while there, and Uh, it is about the snobbish Hyacinth Bouquet. Her last name's Bucket, but she says it's Bouquet. Um, and her long-suffering husband Richard, and her neighbors that also have to kind of put up with her. She has a fairly normal family. They're kind of eccentric and everything, but she is constantly just terrified of how people perceive her and her family, and is always trying to be like superior to things, which this sounds terrible, but it is the setup for ridiculous shenanigans and hijinks, because she is so concerned with how others are perceiving her that she just makes more of a mess for herself, trying to like avoid her family, who she finds embarrassing and less than, and her family are just like, God, she sucks. Like, this whole thing, it is, I feel like I'm not selling it properly, but it is just absolutely batshit bonkers. It makes me laugh like crazy. And my other favorite is Are You Being Served, which is started in the 70s, I believe, and I think it ran through the 80s. It's basically the shenanigans of the staff of the ladies and gents section of the Grace Brothers department store. Um, that gets crazy too. Slightly more inappropriate, I think, than Keeping Up Appearances is, because some of the stuff they get into, it is just wow. I know there are a couple of spin-offs of both of those shows. I have not seen them, so I wouldn't be able to tell you how they are or not. But the shows themselves just, oh boy, ridiculous. Things that I have been reading, this pretty much has been so far the summer of rereads. So I've read a lot of books that are new to me as well, and I am still reading books that are new to me. I have not gotten that far into my TBR for July yet, but I am still very slowly making my way through Bleak House. But otherwise, rereads have been the thing. I've done a lot of rereads, so I'm still working on my reread of the Georgia Nicholson Confessions. I've kind of stalled out because in my head I'm like, I gotta pound through a lot more of these books. I gotta just get through them. And for some reason I'm having a hard time getting into the mood to really get through this series right now, when there's so many other books and I'm like, I'm in the mood for this, or I desperately need to finish reading these friggin' books. So that's kind of where I'm at, but I am still trying to make my way through this. Things that I've been really rereading, I reread The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon because I'd been in the mood to reread this. I know I have a couple of other Stephen King that I really need to get around to reading, but I didn't. Instead, I reread this because this is what I was in the mood for, and I really loved this reread. Unsettling, gorgeously written, loved it. Loved the baseball elements of it. I don't know why I didn't ever look into Tom Gordon before, but I actually did this time, and I was like, oh, cool. Yeah. I did a reread of this. Graz, you and your daughter are also partially responsible for me wanting to do a reread of this because I really liked that like 3D interactive picture book you guys showed, and I was like, damn, I'm in the mood for this now. So yeah, really enjoy that reread. I've also been, I am currently doing a reread of Percy Jackson and just loving it. Had such a good time with this first book. Really enjoyed book 2. I've just started book 3, The Titan's Curse. Which after I finish filming this, I plan on curling up and doing some more reading in that today. Yeah, really enjoying it, getting so freaking pumped for the new series that's gonna be. I'm so excited, guys. And then I've also been back into romance now. So I think that the Kiss of the Highlander book that I read last month kind of helped with that, because I read romance here and there, but I don't think, just plowed through a bunch of romance in a couple of years, because there's just been other genres that have been more of what I've been into. But this has sparked again this love of I really just love romance novels, and not just I'm picky though, because I don't like just your straight up Harlequin silhouettes or whatever. I want there to be added elements to it. I want something spooky. I want a serial killer that needs to be caught. I want some crazy shit, or some time travel, or I want some whack shit happening. So I got both of these Nora Roberts books that I had read years ago, and I did a reread of that. I enjoyed these so much. This, so good. Love this. This is top tier Nora Roberts for me, is Tribute. top tier. But I will have to say, reread Northern Lights, so freaking into this too. I mean, there's romance stuff, there's steamy bits, there's things going on, but there's also like a freaking killer on the loose in here. It's so much more exciting. There's so much more shit happening in this book, which is awesome. And also, it just reminded me again of why Alaska's on like my travel bucket list, because it's just gorgeous. Although I will have to say, maybe don't want to go there during the winter, because that sounds way too cold for me. But things also, besides that, besides the summer of rereads, it's basically been like, for me, I've been in the mood for fantasy. So, reading a lot of fantasy, I just like did a really good hard like look at what I have really been reading a lot of, because I keep track of the genres and things that I read over the course of the year, and fantasy is leading again for like stuff that I'm reading. So maybe I need to reevaluate my feelings on how that's not one of my favorite genres, because apparently it is, because I'm reading a shit ton of it. Besides that, it's also been so far this summer of, like I said, romance novels, and also kind of actiony books, actiony, adventure-y books. So right now I'm reading Raise the Titanic, which it's, I have some thoughts. I will be sharing those thoughts at the end of the month, God willing, if I manage to finish this book. But I'm liking it, but there are elements of it that I don't really enjoy. There's elements of Cussler's writing in the beginning that I find kind of distasteful, that he did have some growth on over the course of his books. So it's like, alright, so that was him in the 70s, but by the time you get to like the 90s and the 2000s, he's not so misogynistic anymore, so that's something. But yeah, I'm trying to get through Raise the Titanic, because I really want to read his other books, but I'm trying to do it chronologically this time, or chronologically by what I own currently. And the next one I'm planning on picking up is Sahara, which is has been one of my favorites. And this, I know, was just freaking action-packed from get-go. So, things that I have been, things that I have been listening to. So, this is the year, or the season. This is the season, yet again, of Coheed and Cambria. Always just coming back to the boys. I last summer I was fairly obsessed with their album Faxes, and I am still fairly obsessed with that album. I continuously have been listening to it, not as much as I was last summer, but it just keeps coming up there. I've also gotten back into Professor Elemental. Professor Elemental's like this steam, it's chap hop. Which chap hop is a genre that's, so it's like eccentric, rich, British dude, adventurous, inventor, steampunky rap. I don't know how else to explain it. It's interesting. Professor Elemental, he's a lot of fun. Fairly ridiculous. Just tons of fun. Would recommend. Let me see. Which album should I suggest first and foremost? I think Father of Invention. I would suggest, if you wanted to check it out, I would suggest you listen to the album Father of Invention. That's my favorite of his. It's yeah, if you just like ridiculous rap that has like a theme to it or something. Just, yeah, check it out. I've also taken recently a deep dive into Foo Fighters, like entire discography, because I realized at some point that I haven't really listened to a ton of their stuff. It's basically been like 2 albums that I've listened to over and over again, and I've heard like a song or two here and there off of other stuff, but I haven't done like a deep dive. And yeah, I decided to do a deep dive like at the end of last month, and yeah, I'm loving it. I mean, I love me some Dave Grohl anyway. Man is just fantastic. But yeah, I've really been enjoying the deep dive on their albums. If you really want to have some feelings, in general, especially if you have been a fan of the Foo Fighters and you haven't seen the videos on YouTube of the kind of like tribute memorial concert thing they did a while back for one of the members who passed, I would suggest watching that, because you will feel some things. And there's one song in particular that I was bawling like a friggin' baby. Yeah, but anyway, enjoying my time doing a deep dive into Foo Fighters. Lady Gaga. Always a Lady Gaga time. I usually save her for Friday. She gets me hyped up. That's my Friday music, get me hyped for the weekend. But yeah, always love the Mother Monster. So listening to more of her stuff. I've also been trying again to have ASMR for reading time. Sometimes if I feel like I'm having a hard time focusing, I'll try to put on something light. So I'll do like acoustic covers or whatever, or jazz. Oftentimes jazz helps me focus. But I do also like to do like ASMR for certain things. So the good thing about YouTube is that there's a lot of like videos out there that are a couple of hours long and are for specific like settings. And I think the purpose of a lot of it is like for people who are like currently like writing something, or maybe it's for like D&D campaigns and you just want some like background noise and stuff like that. Really cool. But yeah, I'll be careful what you type in. I'll say that, because ASMR can get a little bit interesting. But if you're trying for like, you're reading fantasy, there's certain things you should type in, like medieval market ASMR, or like nature ASMR, or different things like that. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter ASMR, Percy Jackson ASMR, like whatever. Just be very specific, because sometimes you get the weird stuff. I have like a summer mix. I made it last summer and it's still kind of my jam. In all honesty, a lot of it is Coheed and Cambria, but it's also just like the Paper Kites, Bob Marley, Harry Belafonte, Dispatch, Stevie Wonder, a lot of oldies stuff. I got some French like jazz, Lonely Forest, Group Love, Monsters and Men, some Lizzo, some Baha Men, Jimmy Buffett. Although to date, still to date, Cheeseburger in Paradise is the only song that I really honestly enjoy of his. Everything else I either don't like or I'm kind of indifferent to, but Cheeseburger in Paradise is that's a good one. But yeah, just kind of summery hits, so I've been popping in and out of that still, because it's just kind of my jam lately. As far as podcasts go, I don't think I've really been listening to anything super new that I haven't mentioned before. I don't think. I think the only one that I've been like starting to listen to recently that I don't think I've mentioned before might be film literate, and that is because the gentleman who runs that had commented on, oh, I think was it a YouTube video or was it an Instagram post? Haha. I think it was an Instagram post of mine, and had said something about he'd done a podcast episode about one of the books that I was talking about, and I did check out that episode and kind of enjoyed it because they talk, he and whoever else he has on as like guests, they kind of talk about the book, but then they also go heavy into like the movie adaptations as well, and it's kind of really interesting. So that's enjoyable, and if you're into that kind of thing, you'd probably enjoy it. Also, it's just been a lot of like stuff that I really love. Real life ghost stories, which I love Emma, so yeah, I listen to like that religiously. True Crime Campfire, Fresh Hell podcast. Let's see, Let's Not Meet, Vintage, Homicide, Once Upon a Crime, my usual like true crime stuff. Been listening to that as per usual. I have gotten back into listening to some of my favorite murder. I also started listening to Aaron Mahnke's Cabinet of Curiosities, which is just random bits of history that are curiosities. That's kind of interesting. Let's Not Meet, which is like a creepy, like real life situational thing. People share their stories. Which is basically it's a witchy podcast. Also, She Done It, and The Librarian is in. I'm just doing my usual listening of that. I'm still very behind in Librarian is in, but I'm getting there. I'm catching up. I did see that the last time they posted was in February, so I'm like, oh no, is that podcast over? But there is like so much of it that if you did want to listen to the New York Public Library's podcast, I mean, you have a good chunk of episodes to listen to. And the Sleepy Bookshelf is basically, it's a podcast. The host takes certain books, a lot of them are like, I think they're mostly like classics and stuff like that, and she has a very like chill voice, and she quietly reads like chapters per episode, and it's not so much something that I'm legitimately really listening to. It's something that I can just focus on to help me go to sleep at night. Yeah. So if you're having trouble going to sleep at night, I would suggest maybe checking out that, because it's like chill and you can just drift off to quietly read favorite classics or whatever. Taste, food and drink, things I've been into. It's hot as balls, as I've said, so Italian ice has been something that I've been super into since it started getting really hot last month. My husband and I there's a couple of brands that we like. So there's Lindy's, which is what we currently have in the freezer, and they're very like icy Italian ice. Lemon is definitely the best flavor of theirs, but I also am partial to, I think the brand is Luigi's. Their Italian ices aren't so like icy, they're kind of almost a little creamier, but they have a particular flavor pairing that they sell. I mean, pairing, like there's like 3 cups of each in the box that I particularly enjoy, and it's like watermelon, which their watermelon is also really good, and blue raspberry, which is my particular favorite. And I know that like blue raspberry is such like a fake flavor, but dude, I've been obsessed with that since I was a kid. I'll eat blue raspberry anything. So we've been into, I've gotten back into cold brew fairly recently just because it's been so damn hot. It feels awful to bring hot coffee to start my day, so I've been getting cold brew lately. As far as like other things go, cocktails. Well, I have my PB&J cocktail that I like to make, and you can do it as like a shot or you can do it as a cocktail. It's basically um, I don't we don't have any like fancy bartending stuff here. I basically just pour a capful or two of Screwball peanut butter whiskey, and then I add however much you want of Concord grape juice, and it's really good. Other than that, I like making Moscow mules. And something we've been having often when we go out to there's like this place nearby that we've gone to a bunch, and they have like these things called beeritos, and it's basically like they make a mojito, but it's with beer. And they also make beer teenies, which is like the same kind of vibe, and they're pretty good too. Truly seltzers. It's also the summer of Truly seltzers. I imagine when we're away, we're also gonna be drinking a lot of those. Other than that, like late night snack, like the dessert snack for me lately has been peanut butter and Nutella sandwiches. For some reason, I just cannot get enough of them lately. So, yeah. But I also water. Um, you see, I have a water bottle, not my little like vacation vibes um, thing. It's because I love that cup, but it does not keep stuff cold enough. So I recently got a new metal water bottle. I had another one, but unfortunately it got super rusty and I can't get it clean. So I got a new, see, it's pretty. It's like galaxy and stuff. Yeah, I recently got this so I can have ice cold water as long as possible, and it's been pretty great. Moving on to the smelling, feeling category. So stuff I've been doing. Walks at the park. We've had a few of those, but not so much lately because it's been either really hot and humid or it is raining, like it currently is right now. I would have liked to have gone there today to go for a walk, but the weather's been kind of yucky, guys. Also, speaking of weather, Vermont and New Hampshire were really slammed with floods recently. So, in my usual like helpful links down below, I am going to be adding a link or two of places to just kind of try to help them out. New Hampshire got really slammed too, but Vermont has, the governor has basically declared it like a state of emergency again. Like this is the hardest they've been hit since basically Hurricane Irene. So yeah, look down below if you can. Other stuff that I've been into, bird watching, not like serious bird watching, but just enjoying. We have, I think if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen like the pictures of our local like neighborhood duck and geese and stuff, and they're still hanging around. It's really sweet how they get along. But other birds, haven't seen the osprey that we normally see this year, which sucks, but have seen and heard hawks. Keep hearing owls. Still have not seen the owl, but I keep hearing her. Campfires, we've had a couple of those. Hopefully we'll be having more. Also, let me see, popcorn. Smelling, one of my favorite smells, my favorite foods too. My work got a popcorn machine, and yeah, we usually end up having popcorn a couple of times a week, and that's been pretty great. I've also been studying. I have one of my writing projects. As you can see, I've gone back to studying, annotating, and stuff like that. Other than that, though, we're supposed to be starting on our basement project, and we've been a little bit stalled on that because we don't have the help until next month. So it will be in August starting of our project. But yeah, that's basically been my summer vibe so far this year, guys. Please let me know what your vibes have been like down below, or you know, if you like the idea of this video, why don't you make one of your own? Let us all know what your summer's been full of or been looking like. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for always watching. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.